going on. It's funny. We were talking, and we are live now. Taylor and I and the founders were talking before the stream about how I've tried to find that sweet spot in the middle for time zones for everyone. Unfortunately, Ludwig from GODSENT has the short end of the stick. It's midnight for him there, but for the rest of us, it's all right. Like, I mean, for me, I'm in Australia. It's 10 a.m. What about for you guys?
I've got 6 p.m. So I'm entering the evening right now.
4 p.m. here. So I'm still middle of the day.
Nice.
Yeah,
a little bit all over the place. So the stream should be live now. Welcome. And this is the first of its kind. We'd like to keep things pretty casual here, so I'm just trying to open up the chat as well, because I'm sure that people watching will want to ask a few questions throughout the time we're talking today. But Taylor, if you could take it away, mate. You're one of our panel today, which I've listed as investor/advisor. Can you give just a 30-second spiel on yourself and the company that you work for?
Yep. So my name is Taylor Hurst. I'm the investment associate at Konvoy Ventures. We're an early stage venture capital fund that invests exclusively in the esports and gaming space. We tend to invest in the infrastructure and technology of both of those markets.
Yeah, fantastic. And Jourdan, you too?
Yeah, well, basically we are New Wave Esports, and we're very proud to say that we are the first investment vehicle, the first public investment vehicle for esports companies and technologies in the CSC. So we have been working on this for the last year. We saw that there was a necessity for the market, for the public markets, to how to expose themselves, how to put their portfolio into the esports space. And yeah, we decided to take it public. So we have over 5 investments already. We're looking for acquisitions at the moment. So we're always open to listen to interesting and new ideas.
Yeah, fantastic. And for anyone watching here at the moment, we've got one apology, which is Tim from Round Hill, unfortunately unable to make it today, but I'll be standing in as a bit of an advisor and a bit of a host. But keeping things moving for both of you, Taylor and Jourdan, a lot of what I've talked about on live streams and on podcasts is about trends and different business trends I've been watching in esports. I'm really interested to learn from you both from the side. Obviously, in the last couple of years, we've seen so much interest into esports teams. They've been raising up to $30 million Series A's and B's. And we've also seen a massive rise in live facilities, whether it's Fortress here in Australia with a gigantic facility, the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas. We've got esports hotels in Japan and such. For you as investors in the market, what trends are you watching coming into 2020?
I can start with that. So the biggest trend we're hoping to see come to fruition is the audience monetization aspect, which we still believe is extremely underutilized across the market. We're seeing average fans are worth around $2 to $4 in the esports market. And you look at the NFL, you're looking at anywhere from $150 to $200 per fan. So with a market that has fans or 2 times more fans than the NFL, we would expect to see more monetization come out of some startups and some creative strategies around monetization that we're hoping to find this year. This is something we still think is in its infancy, and we think there's a lot of space to grow. And it doesn't need to grow to the NFL. It doesn't need to be $200 a fan, but I mean, even $50 a fan is a difference of 25 times the revenue for the average fan right now. So that is a trend we're closely watching right now.
Yeah, and adding on to that, I was asking Jeff, who's been on the podcast and LinkedIn Lives before, an expert in the mobile space. I'm really interested in understanding what's the spend per fan in gaming and esports of mobile versus PC, because we've seen so many of the mobile numbers come out about how massive they are, like Free Fire especially, and other games similarly. I'm really interested to see that trend on top of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I actually think adding on to the mobile conversation is that mobile esports is also something that I don't know if 2020 is going to be the year, but in the next few years, I think mobile esports is going to take off, and that's going to be a large portion of the esports revenue.
Well, I'm coming from the investment banking side. I mean, I've been working in investment banking for the last couple of years, and we're always looking into several trends, right? Before we put together New Wave, we saw a couple of, we were always looking into new technologies and new spaces. Prior to New Wave, we did some cannabis companies, medicinal cannabis companies. So just to give you an idea of every space that we're looking at. And I think where we're heading right now is to the mobile space. I mean, you have to take in account that the most numbers of fans from the esports are coming from Asia, and the PPP or in Asia it's very very low compared to the United States, and that's why you get NFL fans spending over $200 each one of them, and then you will see in the esports from 2 to 3 tops, right? But I mean, I think it is a race over mostly audience and audience attention. So I think it's going mobile, and you can see that it's going mobile when leagues like with games like League of Legends are trying to introduce themselves into that space. And you see Call of Duty, it's going mobile as well, and you will never expect Call of Duty to go mobile when they have such an intensive and such a developed platform, right? But I think it's I think that's where we're heading.
Yeah, and it's obviously worked fairly well for them. Yeah, I'm really interested to see that mobile development. Talking to someone from the PUBG mobile esports division, he explained to me that once a battle royale has a hold on a country, it's basically game over for every other battle royale. And I'm going to be really interested to see if that's the same with MOBAs, whether this new League of Legends MOBA can break the mold on Arena of Valor, Honor of Kings, and et cetera, et cetera. That's already making so much money in this space.
Completely
Yeah,
agree.
fantastic. All right, so thanks to everyone for joining into the live stream so far. We've got so many comments coming through. For those of you who would like to rewatch this later, we will upload this both to our Big Esports socials and Big Esports on YouTube, so you can feel free that if you have to leave for a meeting or such, you can rewatch or you can send to your friends. Some quick running sheets for this as well. As you can see, we've got 3 founders coming in here today. The first founder up will be Anik from Josudo, who describes himself as an e-learning platform. The founder will introduce themselves for a few minutes, and then we'll jump into a Q&A with the investors and advisors. For anyone who's in the live stream, in the chat, you can feel free to ask some questions, and if need be, I'll start to interject some questions into there. So we'll get a Nick in, and we'll go live with our first founder. Anik, welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks a lot for having me.
No problem, mate. All right, we'll let you take the floor.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Anik, one of the co-founders of Josudo, which is an e-learning platform for gaming and esports. So over the past few years, we have seen how esports has proliferated in terms of hundreds of millions of dollars of prize pool, then mainstream brands coming in and getting involved as sponsors. Then we have seen esports athletes getting superstar status. And then we have seen how esports has been included in mainstream tournaments as well. For example, the recent Southeast Asia Games, it was a medal event over there. So there is this aspirational aspects amongst gamers to get better and improve. But currently, the ways they get improved is not really the most efficient one. So they would use YouTube, Twitch live streams, or blogs, stuff like that to get better. But these resources are often not personalized, not are very much fragmented. You won't get regular updates, and then it might be played with scammers. So this is where Josudo comes in. So Josudo is an end-to-end e-learning platform for gaming, for providing an efficient learning pathway for gamers. And we have a bunch of product to achieve that. For example, we have a curated list of coaches on our platform where people can book the coaches for individual or team session. We have also been creating some original Udemy style library of videos that people can access from our website. At the same time, we have been creating some challenge based competition where gamers can connect their game profile with their Josudo profile, and we can track their gameplay stats and automatically put them in some leaderboards as well. So we have a bunch of other features to be released, all developed in-house by our software development team. Again, every one of them with the aim of helping gamers get better. So our business model currently is very simple. We take a commission from the coaching session, from the coach's side, every time there is a transaction that takes place. Also, we'll be releasing a subscription package where people will get access to some premium features, some premium contents as well. So In terms of traction, we released our platform built ground up by our in-house engineers in October 2019, and it has been working out pretty well. Previously, it was a WordPress website. We just used it to see whether there is demand for this sort of service. I'm happy to share the details of the traction offline if you prefer. I'd love to do that. And at the same time, we have secured some key partnerships with both mainstream brands at the same time, like brands who are inherently involved with gaming over the past few months. And in terms of competition, our main ones are in North America and Europe right now. But like in Southeast Asia, we are one of the first ones to come to the market, and we are very much interested in this region, especially because there are 140 million gamers who are very passionate, and Southeast Asia has shown the highest growth in gaming and esports over the past few years. I'm citing my data from Newzoo report, and over time we'd also definitely like to explore markets like Australia and New Zealand, and also the Middle East. So our main marketing channels are a combination of online and offline. Online would be the traditional CPC campaigns over social media. At the same time, we are collaborating with some YouTubers to kind of show our ads. And offline, this thing is very much kind of, again, characteristics to Southeast Asia, that you need some offline presence to gain the trust of the users. Otherwise, they think you're some sort of scam. So we have been running a lot of offline campaigns. For example, we launched a university ambassador program in some universities in Philippines. So that's kind of giving us a very intimate brand recognition amongst tertiary students, tertiary education students, and these guys are known to be very passionate about esports, and also have the disposable income to spend in esports. At the same time, we are trying to partner up with gaming cafes, which are very popular in Southeast Asia as well, and also tier 2 and tier 3 esports teams. So yeah, those are our some of our main marketing channels. Our team is currently composed of 10 people. The company was actually spun out of an incubator called Antler. I'm not sure if you guys heard of them. We were part of his Singapore batch. That's where I met my co-founders as well. We were all passionate about esports, despite our very diverse background, and we set it off. So far we have raised around 300,000 USD, and now we are from both institution investors and angels, and now we are looking to raise our seed round of 500,000 USD. So yes, that's Josudo, an end-to-end e-learning platform. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
You want to start, Jourdan?
Anik, yeah. What kind of valuation do you have at the moment?
I'm happy to share that in private. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, how is the subscription model? How does it work? I mean, it's already deployed, or is it still a beta?
We haven't deployed it yet, because we are still kind of getting the users used to some of the features. So for example, the challenge based league that I just talked about, so we released it a month back. So this is basically the gamers connect their game profile, and we gave them some challenges. For example, get this many wins, or have some specific scores in the game, and based on the score they get put on a leaderboard. So this has been working out very well, in the sense that we have been getting a lot of organic users joining this league every now and then, because they don't really have to do anything extra. They just have to join and play their usual game, and the points start ticking. So what we intend to do is kind of make some leagues with actual prize pools and stuff like that, and just make it more premium and exclusive, and have people subscribe to Josudo to take part in this sort of leagues and have access to this sort of features.
Okay, perfect. The other question was, when do you found the company?
So we founded the company in September 2018. So we were still part of the incubator back then. So, and like we formed the idea, we formed the team like while in the incubator. So it was, yeah, it just came up like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Taylor.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to see is all the content on the platform, and is it all game specific, or is there anything that's kind of just like generic FPS training?
No, we try to make it game specific. So what we did was we had like content manager for each of the games, and like those people, like they were either like ex-professional players or have had like years of experience in creating like such contents, and have them, we kind of gave them like the general framework while they like did like created some curriculums to around the game basically. Yeah.
And for you guys are, so since you guys are creating these leaderboards, and you guys are aggregating data from other players through these tournaments and these leagues, and are you guys doing anything to analyze this data and give recommendations for certain players, or is it more of just a leaderboard?
So right now it's in the leaderboards, but like those sort of recommendation, they would come into play later on. So this is something we have, like we have been speaking to a lot of like different like players in the ecosystem of esports, and one of the big one is the esports teams. We have been asking them like, what would you like, what's missing right now? So they would always mention that there is a lack of a scouting mechanism for them. So what we expect is like once we have a critical mass of user using Josudo services, we can actually track their like their improvement journey, and also their like gaming behavior. Then we can actually like suggest like players to like esports teams as well. But like that would come later on, like once but we have it in the pipeline, the whole analytics, data analytics part.
Have any of these organizations expressed interest in paying for this type of service, or is this more of something that it is?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, all right. So the first thing, the main thing I wanted to say is that the process that you guys are taking when you guys do hit a critical mass of users is seemingly pretty unscalable. The one-on-one coaching is going to be something you're going to find is extremely tough. I understand. I do like that you are offering it for teams, for like a team of people as well, or a group.
Exactly.
But the issue there is that one person can only do one session at a time.
Got it.
And then with the videos, you're going to need to keep these updated. I think what League of Legends pushes out an update every 2 weeks. Overwatch is a game that has continually changing metas, and these require new videos. If you're training for a specific character in any of these character-based games, if anything's changing on their stats, or if ultimates are updated, these need new videos immediately. And the issue there is you're competing with YouTube. You're competing with people that aren't going to work under the umbrella of Josudo. They're just going to post videos and have people subscribe to their content and get paid through advertisements. So with that information, are you guys exploring anything that makes this business model more scalable if you guys do hit a critical mass of users where content needs to be regularly updated, and one-on-one coaching isn't really going to work?
Right. Okay. So let me come one by one. So like the one-on-one coaching, we have faced this like we have faced this question again and again from investors. So that was like, at the very beginning of the company, like investors would tell us that, hey, like this is not really scalable. So that's when we kind of expanded into the video sections as well. And because one-on-one, again, like it would reach a plateau. Beyond that is going to be like, really difficult to kind of scale it. So the video, the Udemy style videos, the whole purpose of it was to kind of like make it more accessible, make it more available to a lot of users at the same time. So to like counter the whole scalability question, we released a video. For the video updates, we kind of faced that as well. Like at the very beginning, we were making all these like Fortnite contents, and by the time we were done, we found that like it has already been updated, and like all the contents that we made were actually useless. So after that, like we kind of like started to create contents in such a way so that like so that we focus only on the fundamentals of the like game For example, like, take League of Legends, like, CSing, creep control, lane control, these aspects won't change, right? Unless like there is some like update which changes the whole freaking game, right? So we kind of focused on those aspects so that like, like updates to videos as frequently won't be needed.
So, Jose,
Right.
so with the, since you don't need to make these updates anymore, then what is your guys' benefit over just going to YouTube
Got it.
and finding this content that's
Right.
the same that also isn't needed to update?
Definitely got it. So are you aware with how Udemy, like, after each video you're given some task to complete, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you're doing a coding course on Udemy, you go through a coding video and then they give you some tasks. Okay, like, why don't you like do this exercise? So with our like, the Game Connect feature that we have developed, so we can do the same. For example, you go through like, a carry like a League of Legends ADC, AD carry, course, and afterwards, like, we tell you that, okay, like, get 10 wins with this certain like champion in order to kind of progress to the next part. So people like kind of watch the videos, they go back to their game, play the game, get 10 wins, they come back to Josudo and then continue with the lesson. So we offer them an extra layer on top of that. Like, we are providing them that, like, that they're actually doing some task after, like, completing the video. So it's not just like, doing like just watching videos like that. Like
I do like that. I like the idea that you're giving action items to these
Exactly.
these gamers. So I do like that. Who's creating the content, the videos?
So contents were actually like, we had these part-time contractors. These guys, like, the criteria we set up was like they have to have like, very in-depth knowledge about the games. So usually these were people like who were ex-professional players or players with who were like, imagine the 95th percentile of like, the skill level in the game, something like that. So these guys, they partner up with some of our in-house video editors, and then like, concurrently they would be like, working together to create the contents.
Well, how are you paying them, or are they being paid? Or are they doing this just for fun?
Exactly, per video or something like that. We have
video.
a like deliverable based deal with them. Yeah.
Got it. Well, yes. I guess just to recap that, the things I do have issues with are the less than scalable model as it is right now. I think that should be something that you continue to focus on. And then, but what I do like and what I have seen a decent amount of startups doing, even outside of this coaching space, is focusing on Southeast Asia. That is it's a large market that at the same time seems underserved definitely in this space. And then I like this league and tournament integration aspect too. I think that's going to be I think it's a really good way to to retain your users and give them reason to almost compete against other people and then get better, which then means to watch your videos or do this coaching. So I think that's everything I have to say. I hope that was all right.
Sure. Can I just add one part to the scalability thing? Yeah, sure. So again, like, ideologically within Josudo, we feel like the best way to improve is still like the one-on-one coaching, because like, the personalization that a coach can give you, I don't think you can get that like in any other way. A simple way to compare is like, whenever you get a instructor in the gym, right? Like, it just makes a like, night and day difference. So ideologically, we still think that like like the one-on-one coaching is the best way to go. But like, just given the circumstances, how it's not scalable, we feel like, over time is going to evolve into the most premium service on our platform, that people who really want to improve, who really want to like, take it to the next level, they'll be like taking this service. Whereas like, other people, the more casual gamer, they would probably like, stick to the videos, they'll stick to the like, the league features and all the other offering that like, we'll be having on our platform.
No, I will give you a little pushback on the on the coaching aspect, because in a gym, the main what a lot of people do is that you hire a personal trainer they buy 3 classes, and then they use that as their own their learning cycle, and then they go do it themselves.
Right.
So I do like that. It isn't the core focus. It's going to be a premium focus, which will be better for the scalability aspect.
Yeah, and the second point I wanted to mention was I mentioned that we have a lot of offline channels that we have been actively engaging. So one of those offline thing is like having these classes in person. So since we are focusing in Southeast Asia, and you know how Southeast Asia is a very fragmented market, each of them have their own languages, they're culturally very different as well. So we have been trying to get local coaches from all these countries. So what we have been trying to do, we started this in Manila, is our coaches who are based in Manila, they'll go down to a gaming cafe, and prior to that we'll be running some campaigns to get the eyeballs. So they'll go down to the gaming cafe, then 20 or 30 people, they'll end up in the gaming cafe and they'll have a live class. So then it's a one-to-many, one coach teaching 30 people. So we have been experimenting with stuff like that, and I think that's very much possible in places like Southeast Asia. These sort of offline physical classes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Who are your competitors? What sets you apart from them?
Okay, so I think the main one would be like Gamer Sensei in USA, and also Pro Guides. So again, the one is basically gonna be the geography. We are very much in different places, and we are not even thinking of going to places like North America and Europe right now. Most of our marketing dollars are still spent in Southeast Asia. And another thing is how we are trying to have a more tech-enabled solution, as opposed to just have a curated coach marketplace. So apart from having the Game Connect feature, we're also we have a bunch of other features in the pipeline, again all with the aim of making the whole learning process a bit more efficient for the gamers.
You talked about spending marketing dollars. So are you currently marketing the product, and what's your customer acquisition cost looking like, and how are you going to get that down over the future?
Right. So customer acquisition cost is around, so if we consider registered users on Josudo, we are looking at around 75 cents right now. I think over time it's gonna as we kind of saturate, it's gonna go up. But then again, we have all these other I mean, once we get the word of mouth thing going, I think it's gonna go down again over time. Yeah.
And diversification of income streams is something that's really popular in esports right now. It's
Right.
obvious that focusing on one thing is hard. How are you planning to implement something like that in your business? What are your main income streams looking like, and how are you going to diversify?
Okay, got it. So again, I mentioned, the main income stream for us were the coach commission, and also the subscription model that we will be releasing very soon. At the same time, I mentioned about serving the esports teams. So we intend to create probably some white label solution for them. Again, using our software, our analytics tools, so the esports teams will be able to use them for their internal team training or stuff like that.
And the last question from me is, what sort of investors are you looking for? Are there any particular types of people that you require help with or from?
I mean, people who are in the gaming, because who are. So we are looking at beyond money, people who can provide value as well on the table. So people who have connection to esports teams, game publishers, that would be the ideal case scenario. So I guess both of the gentlemen we have they're already involved in esports, they're already in the know. I think that would be a very good match as well.
And if anyone watching, obviously there are some investors watching as well, and potential fans or business partners, how can they get in touch with you, and where can they follow you online?
Sure. So we have all our social media active, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just type in Josudo. I think that we should pop up, and you guys can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, and we can take the conversation ahead from there. Yeah.
Cool. Fantastic. Thank you. Any final questions from you, Anik, or from our panel?
I think I'm good. We can probably take it offline for more detailed discussion going ahead.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm good.
So, awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot,
Thanks so
guys.
much.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look at who we've got up next. Is there any final comments from you guys while we're looking for the next founder?
So good.
I'm good.
Fantastic. All right, so next we have Amuka, who describes themselves as a company that creates local esports hubs in cities across North America. Each hub contains a venue, tournament operator, content team, and incubator. And we've got Ben, who will be joining us here from them. Ben, welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. And yourself?
Yes, very good, mate. You know the running sheet, as does everyone else, so take the floor. Let's go.
Yeah. Firstly, Chris, I want to thank you a lot for organizing this. It's a great opportunity to pitch to some great investors and the whole world. I mean, so this is so cool. So I really hope you do it again for other entrepreneurs. The clock's ticking. I'm going to jump right into it. One of the problems that we were seeing in the market is that companies that are focusing on one investment vertical were having a tough time. It was difficult to just be a tournament organizer. It was difficult to just be a game venue or a content team. And so we decided that, you know what, we think it makes a lot of sense to take them all together, roll them up into one complete esports hub that really focuses on the community. So that's what we've done with our first local esports hub in Toronto. So the way we went about it is first we acquired a tournament organizer called Basement Gaming. And what they were doing is not only do they run all the events that we do sort of in-house at our venue, but they also do outbound events. So bringing esports to entertainment centers, like, let's say a bowling alley, like how many kids, want to bowl for a birthday party? So, Basement Gaming would go out and they can do an hour of bowling and then play some Fortnite. So they're working with a lot of entertainment centers to have an esports strategy, as well as a lot of conferences. Then we went out and we got a content team. We wanted a great group of guys that were able to tell compelling stories about the people, about the teams, about the people that matter in the industry, and that's organized gaming. So they're going out. They're loading up their car every weekend, going out to great events, filming great content, and putting it out for the world to see. Recently, we made an announcement. We launched Level 6, Canada's first esports incubator. Maybe North America's, I don't know. I didn't want to make the claim without certainty, but definitely we're sort of the first in Canada. So we're going to take 6 companies. They'll be able to work in our space and really gain some insight from our mentors, access to corporate partners and sponsors, and sort of feeds new ideas, new entrepreneurs into our ecosystem. And the last piece is Waves Gaming. This was it's a strategic partnership right now. It's Canada's largest esports venue, state-of-the-art facility, 14,000 square feet, where people can play, create, and compete all in one facility. So when we sort of looked at the esports market, I know Jourdan, I like Dan Mitri really breaks it down into the 4s. I definitely like give him a shout out. He does it well.
We got the formula. We're planning to patent it.
Yeah. I just want to maybe break it down into the 3s and just say, when you look at the game publishers, I don't know what game is going to be popular next year, in 2 years, in 5 years. So I don't really want to make that bet. And then you have the teams and franchises, and the same thing. Like I don't know who's going to win the next TI or the next big major event. So it's not really a space I want to bet on either. But what I do want to bet on is that people are going to play more video games. And our focus really is exclusively on that casual amateur gaming market. We want to build an authentic grassroots esports community, which we're doing right now in our flagship hub in Toronto. And then we want to take that model and move it to other cities across North America. So in a nutshell, that's Amuka Esports, and happy to take any questions.
I can start this time. I was wondering. I noticed in the deck you sent over that Waves Gaming is expected. This Waves Gaming strategic partnership is expected to move towards an acquisition at some point. How reliant is the Toronto business model on this acquisition, and how is it negatively affected going forward if this acquisition is not able to come to fruition?
At the end of the day, yes. So I definitely want that's part of the bigger plan. We'd like to make this a permanent home, and we're moving in that direction to do that. If it's not a all-out acquisition, it stays a strategic partnership. That's okay. It's a great hub for us. This is something we would have done regardless. And while this is a very big facility at 14,000 square feet, we still would want to build out, 1 to 2 satellite locations, kind of the 2,000 to 3,000 square foot footprint around the city that would feed it anyway. So this is not our first and only venue play. We're looking to really move even within our hub of Toronto and expand beyond that afterwards.
And then in regards to level 6, are you guys planning on making any investments, even small ones that even in the less than $100,000 range? Is it supposed to be exclusive to just being an incubator?
No, I think one of the lessons I learned in the short 6 months that we've been in business is that I want more time to do due diligence. And I think at the end of the day, there's no better way than to work with a group of guys for 10 weeks to see how we work together, how they operate, how they take on challenges. And at the end of the 10 weeks, either we're going to make an investment or maybe we'll make an acquisition if it's the right company and the right fit for one of our hubs.
Are you guys taking any equity just from the fact that they are joining the incubator program?
Yeah, we're going to take 4% equity for participating.
So out of this, so as of right now, it looks like Basement Gaming and Organized Gaming are your guys' 2 revenue streams. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where is it? Where is the majority of this coming from?
So really, when we look at revenue, like sort of pro forma revenue for next year, we're probably for January could do 40 to 50K. That's our target. Venue is a good chunk of that, and the other, I'd say,
venues from Waves Gaming.
Yeah, so that would probably make up maybe 75%, and then 25 from the other 2. That would sort of be the projected breakdown of revenue streams.
With it being a strategic partnership, what's the how's this revenue split working?
Well, we're very optimistic that it'll be announced very soon. So hopefully, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I have my compliance officer here. No, we're hoping it'll be announced very soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if it's okay, I'd like to ask a couple questions based on the financial projections that you guys mentioned in the deck, if that's fine.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I saw that you guys are only planning on raising 500,000 in this round. Where's the other 1.6 million coming in expenses? That's it had a total of about 2.1 million in the fiscal year 2020. I'm just kind of wondering where are those expenses coming from and how are they being paid for as of right now?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll just give you a little bit of history of the raises because maybe it'll come up anyway, and I should have mentioned in the first in the intro. So we did a 500K. All numbers are Canadian. We did a 580K seed round, pre-money 1 million. Now we're doing another 500K Canadian, sort of like a bridge round at 2.5 million Canadian. We've closed about half of that, so we're looking to raise the other half. Then we'd like to do a very large institutional round, probably about 4 million in Q2. We've also signed a listing agreement, so we're going to be joining our good friends BIG Esports on the CSC, hopefully by the end of the year. So revenue streams will be we're modeling in 3 different venues, and also expansion to other cities. We haven't even factored into the pro forma there. So those numbers are really just based on what we feel we can do with one hub. Okay, so other hubs, we think we can do even better. But so a flagship venue with 2 sort of satellite campuses. We're very close to launching our stream team, a dedicated content creation team that has a very cool name and very unique team. So those are going to be the biggest drivers. We also we do have a couple M&A offers out there, that a couple nice pieces that we can put in that will definitely help us hit or exceed that target.
And just last question is kind of twofold. Can you explain a little bit more the relationship between you guys, the Center Ring, and AXL Gaming, and how they are being used to further this business?
Yeah, sure. These were our first 2 investments. So The Center Ring, it's one of the larger esports podcasts in North America. They just did their 200th episode, and this was really early on. And I was listening to this podcast for 6 months, probably 6 months, and I just didn't understand why there were no ads on it. So I called the guys up and I said, you got a great podcast, like, what's going on? And they just said, we're doing it for fun. And then a few more months went by. I said, guys, enough's enough. This is a really great business. So we pushed them to incorporate and to sort of, do it full time and build out the business and start getting sponsors, which they've done now. So they're going to stay, both those companies are just going to stay as investments for now. And, down the road, we would definitely, consider potential acquisitions.
Got it. Awesome. That's I think it's everything I got. Jourdan?
Great. Well, I think most of the questions, the important questions, you already made them, and I know the story about Amuka. They're like another new wave, the new wave cousin, so to speak, and the lovely cousin. I was wondering about this grind joint venture, or how does it work? Is that an investment? Are they working with you right now?
Yes, that's
skateboarding esports.
Yeah. So that slide's our pipeline. We want to start to develop, more companies and more brands. So one of them was Grind, a sort of hybrid skater gamer lifestyle brand. So we have a great partner who wants to really build that out. Has a very good in the skating culture, especially in LA. So no major news on that front, but that's something we want to hopefully greenlight sometime this year.
Nice. And what about Dallas? It says that that's the next hub in 2020. How is that going on?
Yeah. So it's still, we're not 100% sure if that's going to be the first one. We love the Dallas market. Also, you asked about TCR, the Center Ring. We have two great guys who are in the DFW area that are incredibly connected to the scene. So, we really have the manpower and I would say the authenticity to really make a move into that area. So that's why it's kind of the front runner right now. I definitely want to make more improvements to what we have in Toronto. I want to improve a lot of things before, especially moving geographically to a new market where there's a lot of risk. So just probably want another quarter or two to really validate the model, to really make sure that we're getting much closer to being cash flow positive, which I think we can be towards the end of the year, and then start to move more resources and time into a Dallas market.
That's nice. The other question I had was, how does your revenue stream work? Do you get you get fees from your investments? Do you get how does it work?
Yeah, so on the investment side, they're just holding. So we'll hopefully be able to realize those gains upon a liquidity event. With Basement, do you want me to go through all three? Do you want me to go through each one? Or?
No, just it could be just an overall. It doesn't have to be specific.
Yeah, sure. So on the game venue, there is monthly recurring revenue, so like membership fees. So people who come in, they can either buy a day pass, they can buy a monthly pass, they can sign up for a year, kind of like a gym membership. We're also looking to roll out a couple of higher tiers. So that's one. There's food and concessions, but really the bigger line item is tournaments. So we're doing weeklies, basically 5 nights a week, plus bigger tournaments on the weekends. And I think that is the model for, it's moving away from just the typical LAN center and more to, big community and more events like that. I really love the Gamer Stadium in Vancouver, and they're doing the same thing. It's not about just billing hours on a PC. It's about organizing a lot of tournaments, getting all sorts of different communities to play and compete in your space. Nice. Those are all my questions. And even Matchup Gaming is definitely a great event organizer that is frequently at Waves Gaming.
Yes.
Do you guys have any liability in regards to the actual real estate of these venues?
No, as a company, we have no debt, and the only the lease would be the only liability.
So Waves Gaming doesn't own the building; they're leasing that out.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, and that will be you guys will incur that cost if and when this acquisition goes through. If and when, yes, we will incur that cost. Got it. Okay, just checking.
Can you speak to your, so you said that you've done, was it 1 round or 2 rounds thus far? Can you speak to your current investors? Who are they? What industries are they in? How do they add value to the company?
Yeah, great question. So we're halfway through the second round. We have a lot of the equivalent of Wall Street in Toronto. It's Bay Street. So we definitely have a lot of bankers, guys from some of the big banks like Scotiabank, insurance companies. So a lot of them came in early. We have a lot of cannabis investors, including one of our advisors who's a CEO of an cannabis extraction company. So we really don't have a lot of sort of esports industry executives on board right now. It's something I really want to change. A lot of it's just people who love gaming or really believe in esports who have come in on the first two rounds.
And
I heard Chris is looking for an advisor role in one company.
We're hoping we can make an announcement, but we're working on it.
It's another TBA. It's another TBA. One of my only concerns is one that I've gone through personally myself. So obviously you guys have a lot of different business operations going on and going to be opening more. Do you think that at the moment you struggle to find focus as to which pillar to build more, and will that continue to be an issue in the future?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And, I only have so many hours in the day. I have to decide how I'm going to prioritize it. I'm really spending a lot of time on building the right systems and having people take care of a lot of the operations so I can focus on a little bit more vision, a little bit more big picture, because I definitely was trying to micromanage and do everything myself. So really over the past couple months, I've had a reckoning with myself to really delegate and take advantage of the great guys we have a team of about 12 people right now, and have them sort of really take over and run a lot of the day-to-day operations.
Yeah, so you mentioned as well that you've got a lot of bankers on board, which is, I assume, sort of silent money in the background. What sort of investor are you looking for in this round or in future rounds?
Yeah, I definitely want people who bring added value. Look, you can't always you can't always pick everything. So I'm very happy with the investors who really took a chance on an early stage company and believed in us. And I have a tremendous, in Hebrew we say akara satov. I have a tremendous gratitude to everyone who came in, whether or not they provide any added value. But for sure, we'd love to get people that can help us, a little bit with the organization, and also help draft that strategy for moving outside of Toronto. We're very comfortable here. We know everybody here. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's something that we can handle and continue to build. But as we move into a new market, we are naturally going to have a lot more risk. And we love partners that, especially on the ground in different cities, that could really help us with that strategy.
And you also mentioned an appetite to list publicly sometime in the future. Can you touch on some more information around that, around timelines, but also why?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. In Canada, we don't really have a robust venture capital system like they do in the US. So for a lot of Canadian companies, it's just a more natural way to raise capital. There's 3 main reasons why a company can and should go public. The first is it definitely raises your profile as a publicly traded company, especially in esports where there are not a lot of companies publicly traded, and most of them are very small or micro caps. The second is, especially for a company like us, it gives you a really meaningful currency for M&A. Right at the end of the day, when you're trying to acquire a company with your private stock, it's private stock. It's not liquid. It really isn't as valuable as if you were publicly traded and had some free trading paper. And the final one that I really think is never talked about, which I find really bizarre, is it's really like an insurance policy. So, if you're a private company and, like shit hits the fan and you got to do a down round, like good luck, good luck seeing how many investors are going to stand by, like who's going to stand by you and invest when you're doing a down round as a private company. When you're a publicly traded company and you got to do a down round, it happens all the time. Like your stock takes a hit, you raise money at a lower valuation and you got another kick at the can. So I just think it really extends your life. And for myself, my business partner, we do have an investment banking background. So I don't want to say in any way it's easy to run a publicly traded company, but we're comfortable doing it. And so for all those reasons, we decided that it'd be better to make that trip. We're targeting Q4, but at the same time, I've really been watching the market to see what multiples the market's willing to pay for esports companies in different verticals. So to the extent that we don't think that we're there where we need to be by Q4, then we'd push it off a quarter, because the last thing I want to do is list too early and have the stock take a big hit.
Have any
Fantastic.
thoughts on the Astralis IPO?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on it?
I really think teams and franchises should probably stay private. I think a lot of the time they're going to be banking on increase in franchise value, which it's going to happen, and it has happened already. I don't really think that translates well to public market accounting systems. So if I were them, I would probably do it. But it's also it's a little bit of a different story than the traditional sort of, like a Blizzard franchise. They're on a very small junior index. So a lot of people don't even really know or follow the stock yet. So it'd be interesting to see what it does in the next 6 to 12 months, and if a company like that can graduate to the NASDAQ.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I thought they raised at a pretty respectable valuation based on where they work and compared to what we're getting from these private ones.
Yeah, their relative valuation is in the middle. Yeah,
that's
sort
the
of in the
thing
middle
with
of the pack.
public,
Yeah.
that's the thing with public companies. I mean, you have to be fair with your valuations, and that's why I think teams should stay private, because they can play around that. And when you're a public company, I mean, me as a member of one, it's just fair, right? It's public valuation. The market decides how much you're worth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about capitalism. Like, you could be private, and like we saw with WeWork, you're worth what like one investor is willing to pay. But when it comes to the markets, there's a reckoning, and I love that. And I don't know what my company's worth, so I rather let millions of investors decide what my company's worth.
Exactly. Yes.
Cool. All right, so we need to move on to our last founder. But Ben, for anyone watching here, where can they follow you and your company online, and where can people get in touch with you for more information?
Yeah, our website is amukaesports.com, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, Discord. So you can LinkedIn. So Ben Feferman, and I'd love to connect with everyone. And really, thank you so much for this opportunity.
No problem. Thank you, Ben.
See you, Ben.
All right, I'm going to add in our last founder here. We've got Ludwig from GODSENT. So GODSENT is a Swedish world-class esports organization that competes in 6 of the world's major esports titles, with prominent teams across CSGO, Dota 2, and other international professional circuits. Ludwig, welcome, mate. Sorry in advance for having you last. You've got the worst time zone out of all of us. And
no worries, man. Building the hype. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for the opportunity, man, and a pleasure to meet all of you. So my name is Ludwig. I'm the CEO, one of 2 CEOs for GODSENT, and a co-founder of GODSENT. And I am also the original founder of this company. This company is 2 years in the making, and from the beginning, it actually was another brand that we played under, which was had the name The Final Tribe. And as recently as September, The Final Tribe merged with GODSENT and basically became GODSENT and the company it is today. And we compete, as you mentioned, in 6 major esports titles. And we have some great teams and players in all the different esports. And I would say most recently we reached world ranking, HLTV ranking 21 in Counter-Strike, which I think is a great achievement given what kind of brand we is. GODSENT originated as a Counter-Strike brand, which was founded by my co-founder Pronax, who played for Fnatic during Fnatic's most successful era. We have retrieved 3 rounds of investment from 2 angel investors, and we were also the first company, to my knowledge, at least esports team company that have raised money from like crowd equity funding. So we have made 1 successful crowd equity funding campaign as The Final Tribe earlier this year, late spring, you can say. and and it was September that we became GODSENT. I think that's basically sums it up pretty well. So shoot with the questions.
You want to start, Jourdan, or?
Yeah, sure. Where does the name come from?
GODSENT. It's not my invention. It's Pronax. So you would have to ask him. Actually, I don't know exactly where he got it from. This is during 2016, and I was not part of that process, so I wouldn't know. So I don't know actually. I haven't asked him. It's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. I saw your deck, and I'm sorry, I actually couldn't do the calculation by myself. How much is 1 million SEK?
The easiest way to think about it is like you just deduce 1 0, so it's basically 100k euro
100K.
or dollars. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, precisely. So our first year as the final tribe, we had a revenue of 150k euro basically, and this year we doubled it to 300k euro.
Yeah, that was my next question. How is your revenues looking, and how do you approach this ever changing space about new games and new challenges coming up? Like every game is always evolving, or there you get like new games coming out. They're actually getting massive. Like for example, Call of Duty Mobile just came out, and it's going places, right? So how do you approach that?
Well, you stay interested, I suppose, and you try to kind of just be in the market for new players and try to scout new players and have a lookout for new games and just you try to have your eyes open and just stay interested, and especially your mobile, of course, is something that we are really thinking deeply about. We think that's going to be really big, obviously, especially because of the user base in especially all over the planet, basically. So that's something we're actually have put in place strategically that we would want to enter into this year. So we are at this point in time looking to find interesting and promising mobile players and content creators. Yeah.
Nice. And the other question I had, I kind of saw a little bit of it in your deck. How do you approach your marketing? How's your marketing strategies going on? What's the next step for you? How do you see yourself going to other markets? For example, Southeast Asia or probably America.
Well, we are like since we play on a global scale, we will want in the long term to have a presence all over the planet, I suppose, and like I can foresee us in a future having office spaces in both Southeast Asia as well as like on the continent of Europe and maybe even in the United States. We're basically open to that opportunity, and we are walking towards in that direction that we want to be present everywhere on the planet, because we believe, I would say, how it paves into our strategy is that we are not focusing necessarily on our region when we pick teams or players. So even though we are a Nordic organization or a Swedish company, you will see that, for instance, our Counter-Strike team, even though it has Swedish leadership, it's an international team, because we believe that in the future it will be, you will see for different sports, but you will see more and more international teams, and you will want to be, will want to have influence all over the planet, I suppose, so as to be competitive in the long term.
Nice. So those are my questions pretty much. I don't know, Taylor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as an earlier or as a relatively new esports organization, since you said you guys started about 2 years ago, what was your thought process around starting the team as a multi-team or multi-title organization instead of starting with maybe like one title at a time?
Well, basically you have two timelines here when you think about this company. One will be for GODSENT itself, which is the GODSENT brand, which was founded by, the history here is that GODSENT was founded by Pronax while he kind of played in Fnatic, and it was actually founded in relationship together with Refresh Entertainment, which were the founders of Astralis, who back then in 2016 also owned GODSENT brand, the GODSENT brand, and they also owned Heroic, which are two still. All of these brands are actually on the top 30 ranking in the world still. But then Steam or Valve initiated this one ownership, one team rule. So then Refresh Entertainment have to kind of divest from both Heroic and GODSENT, and then Pronax got hold of the ownership of this brand, while basically Refresh Entertainment focused on Astralis. So that's the story of how kind of GODSENT came about. And back then it was basically on a Counter-Strike, and it was a major Counter-Strike team. And the same goes for the Final Tribe. My history is from Dota. I was part of basically incorporating another team, which is Alliance, a Swedish organization which won the international in 2013, to that Swedish company which it is today. I was the project manager of the business law firm who kind of represented the Swedish party when Alliance was when Twitch divested from Alliance, and we were a one team. So we started with one team, and then we added teams this year or earlier this year when we went into the crowdfunding, the crowd equity funding campaign, because at that point in time we saw that there's many good reasons for it, but both the interest from the general audience, but of course you expand your demographics and you also expand your offers to sponsors, and you have more opportunities if you have more teams. So that's the reasoning behind it. And as you can see, most organizations today are multi-esports organizations, I would say, probably for this reason.
So going back to your guys' revenue, where are you guys seeing the majority of your revenue come from? Is this the typical model, just finding a lot of revenue from sponsorships and in that route? Where are you guys seeing the majority of revenue coming from for your team?
Are we talking in the future? For the future, you mean now?
No, no. So far,
historically, it has been prize money winnings, and it has been from sponsorships, and and going forward, so you kind of want to build this base of sponsorships, which is the foundation around which you can develop your other revenue streams. But so that is the historicity of it.
So, and diving into the sponsorship revenue stream, how many social platforms are you actively generating revenue through?
What do you mean by what do you mean by this question?
I know some people, they run sponsored tweets or sponsorships to Twitch. Where are the majority of sponsorships just coming directly to your team, where you wear them on your jersey?
Precisely. I would say that what we are packaging in this regard is often a yearly or even 2 year or 3 yearly sponsorship marketing campaign, which is it's a big commitment from a partner where you basically get rights to promote your brand on all platforms. So on all player accounts. So you get access to about, in our case right now, 1.5 million followers, not only on GODSENT's own accounts, but also on all our player accounts as well.
And speaking of GODSENT accounts, why are you guys as a team not active on Twitch or YouTube? I see that your players are, but why is there not a corporate account as well?
we have the accounts, but we are just very early stage in our development of these accounts. And you're pointing actually to what we want to focus most of our efforts, or a big portion of our efforts going forward into 2020, because both Twitch and YouTube are the platforms where we really want to grow going forward, because of the profitability that you can find there if you're good at it. So
yeah, and then so to let everybody know how good your teams are. I don't know if we actually went over that. That'll lead to my next question. I mean, you guys are looking at world top 30 for Dota, world top 30 for CS:GO, world top 8 for Hearthstone, Nordic champions for League of Legends, and Nordic champions for Rainbow Six Siege. Which I mean, is obviously congratulations on all that.
Thank you very much, sir.
When I look at that, my first thought is, and with you guys being a relatively new organization, one without a lot of financial backing as of right now. Are you guys looking at creative ways to structure player contracts to make sure that these players are not poached by larger organizations that can also afford these buyouts?
Absolutely. Like the most valuable team assets we have right now is the Dota players and the Counter-Strike players. And the Counter-Strike contracts we have put in place really good contracts there, where if there were to be a buyout, the buyout would be that we market the price. There's no set buyout, so we would only sell to whatever price we feel is good, and they're long-term contracts. So we're, in that sense, I would say that we are safe for a very long foreseeable future, more than 1 year.
Do any of the players have ownership in the organization as well?
We have some players that historically. So when I started the Final Tribe, we actually started out this way. So it came about that I worked for Alliance for about approximately in between 1 and 2 years, and when Alliance failed to qualify to TI7, they kind of wanted to change their roster, and then the opportunity arose for me to work with some players that I really had worked with for a long time and came to love and really was impressed with. And so the Final Tribe at the starting point had 3 players who played a really big role in the team, Dota 2 team, then at that point in time EU Dota Pro Circuit, and they were all pretty big shareholders in this company. So that was kind of the starting point. But now they have been there are only 1 player left, which is Era in the Dota 2 team, since the other 2 players have left. Hansken is playing for Alliance and stuff like that. But so we have that situation, but it's not really integrated into our strategy as it was in the beginning.
Do you guys have a structured recruiting process that you guys go through for bringing on new talent? I know you just mentioned that some of the Dota 2 players have moved on and some of them have stayed. How are you guys going about the recruiting process?
You need to have a foot into the market of players, and how you do that is, but you kind of have to be in the scene, I would say. You need to know your way. You need to be in the scene, basically, depending on the sport, of course. But for each and every sport, we will have someone, a key personality, you could say, in the company or someone building the team for us. So you will always have someone who is either a coach or a player, or someone who is in the scene and who has access to the professionals. And because it's different from sport to sport, but in some sports, teams kind of build themselves. I would say that this is particularly true of Dota. Like you need to be a Dota 2 professional to be able to talk to other Dota Pro professionals, basically.
Got it. That is that's everything I got. Chris, if you want to take it over.
So you mentioned Pronax as part of the founding. It's a CS 1.6 player that I used to watch as a fan, as a younger person. How active is he with the process? His weight in the industry, does he provide a lot of marketing support? Does he provide support for recruitment or training of the CSGO players? How active is he with GODSENT?
He's he's kind of, you could say that he's transitioning from being a professional player this year into learning about what it means to be running a business, and just so he's part of the upper management, but he has a passive role there. When it comes to the Counter-Strike, he's head of CS:GO, so he is involved with he was kind of, you could say that he took responsibility for recruiting this team that we have in place now, and he is part of the management of that team, and works closely with the team and with Devil Walk, the coach. And travels with the team to competitions, and so absolutely. And of course, his brand is a huge value, and his accounts, and so he's absolutely a part in the day-to-day business, and especially the Counter-Strike side of it. And as every day goes by, he's also have full insight into the upper mechanics of the firm. So he sees all of these things too, and being one of the biggest shareholder, basically, alongside myself in the company as well.
Can you, so you've talked a bit about your personal history in Dota and with Alliance, a very esports heavy history. Can you talk about your other executive, Henrik, as well? What his experience has been?
Absolutely. So Henrik and me, we came across each other basically through, he came from GODSENT, and when we kind of initiated this merger, it came about basically Henrik had started working with Pronax on reviving the GODSENT brand. And then, so he had been working with Pronax for a couple of months when we came in contact, and we started thinking about this merger and talking about it. And his background is as well as mine, as he is an entrepreneur as well. He has been part of, I think he ran a company for 8 years, which he eventually sold or did an exit from. And then at the back of that, he kind of maybe did one stint in another company, and then he turned his eyes to esports and started working with Pronax on putting in place the GODSENT, or reviving the brand. And that's when I came into the picture, because it basically came about that he did a reach out to one of my sponsors, and I got to know about it. And that's how I came to know about it, and we started talking, and hit the vibe.
What's the appetite for non-endemic or mainstream companies in your market? You've mentioned that a lot of your revenue in the past has come from sponsorship, and obviously with teams, according to the data globally, that'll continue happening for a while. But what's the appetite been like from those mainstream brands, and how long does it take from the first meeting to closure? What's your sales cycle?
It takes long time, and every process has its own story. I would say it's definitely depends, of course, on the strength of the brand. Now, I've been working with 3 brands in my as a let's say a in management of a team or a team brand, and one which was really big, Alliance, obviously winning TI in 2013, and was one of the biggest brands in the world. And then I worked with a really small brand, which was the one I founded myself, the Final Tribe, which started with 0 followers. And and it's, in general, it's definitely, it's a long process, and it's an educated process, but as every year go by, it gets easier and easier as esports become more mainstream. So most recently we have had some great success with bringing non-endemics as sponsors for GODSENT.
And with your current round that you're raising, how has it gone so far, and what sort of investors are you looking for?
We have not started this process as of yet. So we are aiming at raising. We want to raise 1 million euro at the minimum this spring, and and so that is the target that we will work towards, and we aim to. We are just in the beginning of this process, basically. I would say that this is a good starting point. We know what we want to achieve, and we think that we now have reached a maturity with the company and the brand. We have 2 years history, and we have really gotten our heads around like what we think the business is about, and what we can achieve, and we have a good and clear vision for the future. And also I would like to add to this that this has from the start been a real startup, man. It's in comparison to many other esports teams, we are not well funded at all. So what we have brought kind of about with so little resources in terms of competitive strength in the sport on such a low cost, I think is really impressive. So if we when we get proper finance, we will be able to really bring something incredible about. I'm certain about. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's what you were mentioning before as well, Taylor, around the justification is much easier for the revenue multiples and such for GODSENT. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of likeness to a lot of Australian esports organisations as well, fairly similar, player founded, player led, come from the grassroots that are now seeking to expand. With the €1 million that you're looking to raise, what's the general strategy around that? I assume that's growth, money for growth.
Absolutely, money for growth, and we want to much of it. We have some different projects in mind, but of course we want to acquire competence so that we get good on delivering on our promises to our sponsors, but also to our audience. So we want to sign content creators. Is a big part of the strategy, because that is where the money lies in the end, like we believe, or it's a big portion of it. And of course we live in the north, so we also want to set up we want to set up basically a game or team house or a GODSENT, another GODSENT office space or boot camping facility somewhere in sunny country, basically. Preferably, we're thinking about Malta for this, in collaboration with most preferably a betting sponsor. So that is something we want to invest in, and of course also we kind of something that this investment will do is that it will kind of have us being able to ease in to the work a little bit more, because these 2 first year have really been they have been signified by guerrilla warfare, I would say. And it's all it's a lot of, you think a lot about the cash flow situation and just make it's you like kind of live from month to month, and all so we want to grow into a position where the management is all about policy making and putting good instructions, like top down the structure, so that we will be able to really harness all the enormous competence we have and just ease into victory, man.
Yes.
Sounds good. Yeah. It sounds very similar to things that I've experienced and many of my other startup friends as well, where you would much prefer to be working on your business than in your business day to day. So.
Well, absolutely, and so. And given what we have achieved with so little money, I think just what we can achieve with like proper financing, I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Cool. So if anyone watching wants to get in contact with you personally or wants to follow GODSENT, where can they do so online?
They can go to godsent.gg is our webpage. Twitter is a very good place to follow us, and I will also say Instagram. And of course, if you are looking to, if there's business, if you're all about the business, then you can contact me directly at either reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out by through email to Ludwig at godsent.gg.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us today, mate.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and nice to meet you guys.
Thanks to you, Ludwig, for your time.
Thank you.
Jourdan Taylor, stream number 1. There we go. How'd you find it?
That was fun. I didn't think I'd be doing this, when I first started at Konvoy a year and a half ago. So I think it's really interesting. I think it's a great way to get people in front of definitely in front of investors. And like I've mentioned multiple times with you, I mean, moving to Twitch is going to be super interesting as these guys not only look for investment but also just look for exposure. I think this is a great thing for the market, and definitely beneficial to all these founders.
And for both of your companies personally, I mean, for anyone who's watching, there's a lot of people who have founded startups or are looking to scale their growth who've connected with me on LinkedIn. What specifically are you guys looking for to invest in, and how can people contact you if they're interested in getting decks across?
We actually have a portal on our website. If you just go to konvoy.vc/founders, where you can apply and submit all your information. I personally review the majority of that, so I will see it. And please feel free to also add me on LinkedIn if you just want to reach out and just chat. We invest in the earliest of stages. So for some people, it is just betting on a vision and betting on the founders that are coming to us. And so please don't be afraid to reach out to me. I will essentially sit down and have at least a 30-minute call with anybody if you just want to chat. So if you want to apply, like I said, we have the portal, which is like, again, at konvoy.vc/founders, or you just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Those are probably the easiest ways. But if you just want to chat, anybody can feel free to message me.
And is there a specific size of investment that you're generally looking at?
It can range anything from 100,000 to 500,000 is right up our alley. Anything more is going to be typically out of our range. Just we're an early stage fund. We don't want to take full rounds. So we think there's a lot of value in having multiple investors part of a round. But we lead investments. We price them. We have no problem co-investing or just following on as well.
Cool. And you, Jourdan?
Yeah, in our case, it's very diverse as well. I mean, we're always open to listen to interesting ideas. At the moment, right now, we're looking for companies with revenues. So some of them, when are too early stage, they don't have the significant revenue. So we kind of hold on them. But we're always open to every idea and to every kind of projects. I mean, as in Taylor's case, we like to help companies. We like to create synergies. I mean, we've got over 5 investments in our portfolio. And for example, I was just listening to Ludwig, and I was thinking it could be a good fit for either EMG in Canada, or it could be something with Talon, which is our Asian team in the APAC region. So for us, it's we look at everything, and even if it's not an acquisition per se, I mean, we're always open to invest. Our tickets go from 50,000 to 200 to, it could be a full acquisition, so it could be $5 million to $10 million. So for us, it's a pleasure just to be here. Again, Chris, thanks for the opportunity. It is a great opportunity for entrepreneurs, for investors like us to get the exposure that we want. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the companies that we invest in. So as they need us, we need them. I think we need more of them than they need from us. So I think it's kind of a humbling experience just to see how many companies are in this space and how many people is being attracted by this spectrum.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so for those people watching, this has been the end of the first stream. We will be coming back with some more. We've been talking to Twitch about getting it onto Twitch TV as well as LinkedIn to hopefully help educate, because I guess for me, as much as I want founders to be able to raise capital from people like you, Jourdan and Taylor, I also want people to be able to watch the process. For me, when I first became a founder, I learned everything I knew through a podcast called The Pitch by Gimlet Media, and also by Startup by Gimlet Media. And a lot of my experience in that area, and even learning what lingo to say, was literally by watching other people in the hot seat kind of doing that from start to finish. So I'm hoping to, provide some of that across the esports market, because I think what we see with what Ludwig was talking about with Pronax is that so many esports companies are founded by people who've been around in the market for 10 years, but don't necessarily have that business experience. So hopefully if we can help to close the gap and get some of them connected with more people like yourselves with that astute business experience, I think that's a great way to help grow our industry.
I agree.
Yeah, cool. And Yeah, so thanks to you guys for coming on, and thanks to everyone for listening into the podcast and or listening into the live stream, sorry, and for putting in all of your comments, especially for some of those people who've been around since the start, like Sebastian. Good to see Robin here, Bill Freeman. I can see Catherine has been here since the start, tweeting about it. Bobby Lee, Hank Wills putting in a bunch of comments, Nicholas, and plenty more people. So thanks for listening, everyone. We will hopefully be doing one of these again very soon. Might be only on LinkedIn or might be on LinkedIn and Twitch. So thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.
See you guys.
Ciao, guys.